Hey, people, it's Sleepy Reader, or should I say Cranky Reader or Grumpy Reader. That's how I felt this week as I read comics. I don't know if it's the comics' fault or my fault, but I just felt more critical and unhappy with a good portion of my 9 comics that I read this week. So take that as you will. I'm always super subjective in just ranking these comics by the amount of fun I had reading them. And I had less fun than usual this week. Maybe it started with my number 9 comic, Batman The Joker Warzone, which is a $6 comic book. Got put in my pull box because I added Batman to my pull box. So I've since sent an email to my comic book shop guy saying, unless I specifically ask for one shots, don't give them to me. But we'll see if that works. Because he gives me such a good discount and he's a small shop, I tend not to refuse to buy things that he puts in the book in there that seem like honest assumptions. Like it seemed like an honest assumption that I want Batman, and this says it's Batman. Batman does not even appear in here. It's a bunch of side stories during this, quote, Joker War, which I don't think that... I mean, I'm enjoying the main Joker War story, but I'm not that impressed by, Gotham is taken over by the Joker and all chaos is coming. So here's some stories about the chaos. Some of these stories held together better than others, but a lot of them... Several of them said at the end, to be continued in 2021. So that's like, these are just planting seeds and probably unimportant seeds to have read for future plot contrivance, future plot plans. Like what was going on with this scene with Lucius Fox and his family. It just didn't add up to much. And then this Henchmaster one was kind of fun. Who was the artist? It was hard to find the credits, but the art was a little odd. The art was David LaFuente, and the big deal in this story was these gals spoiler, and I'm forgetting what her name. They now have bats on their thing, and they stole back a bat signal and supposedly shined it, but nowhere in the story, like this is the conclusion, but the artist does it in such a way that you can't really see the bat signal very clearly. I mean, there's the bat signal down there, I guess, on the final page. This one, Ashes of Eden, written by Sam Johns. I've never heard of him. Art by Laura Braga. I haven't heard of her, but her art was fantastic, actually. I really like that. It's one of the high points of this pretty meaningless issue. And nice colors by Antonio Fabella. But it was what somehow Poison Ivy just causes her garden to be on fire to kill these Joker henchmen. And then I guess she tortures this other Joker henchwoman for no particular cause. And it ends with saying being to continued in 2021. So there's going to be some plot with Queen Ivy, I guess, coming up. So I paid $6 mostly for not very effective teasers for upcoming comics. The closest we get to something unusual is we get a James Stokey drawn story, but I don't feel like James Stocco, I guess, really ended up being the right artist for this kind of story. So I was excited to see him, but then I still didn't enjoy the story much. I'm trying to remember now what it was about. It was basically the clown killer killing some of the henchmen, of the Joker's henchmen. Basically, that's it. He kills off some henchmen with some funny names, and some crowds cheer him, and that's the end of the story. It's definitely, it emphasizes the fact, I guess, of Gotham in apocalypse. Gotham gone down into savagery. If you like that, I guess there's something to that, but to me, it wasn't worth my while, and I felt cranky about it. I think if I hadn't read Batman in a long while, or were new to Batman and maybe just were reveling in all the Gothamness of everything, maybe I would have liked that better. Wonder Woman comes in at my number 8, and this is the end of the Liar Liar storyline. It still has the work by this artist that I'm less thrilled by, Carlo Barberi, colors by Alexandro Sanchez. Now I can't even remember how this one ends. I mean, it ends with the bad guy defeated temporarily. I guess we learned something more about Max Lord, but I'm not sure what. I was going to drop it. I was going to drop it a while ago, actually, and I forgot to. And then someone on Twitter told me that the next artist coming up will be, what's his name? Someone, Steve Pugh. So I thought, well, maybe I should see Wonder Woman drawn by Steve Pugh. I'm not too excited, though, with this writer, but maybe I'll give it one more issue. The eternal hope of the deluded comic book reader. Then I got this, another one-shot that just gets put in my box because it's the Immortal Hulk. Now, actually, a recent spin-off of the Immortal Hulk, the Immortal She-Hulk one-shot, was really, really good. So I had some hopes here, but it's not written by Ewing, what's Ewing's first name? Well, anyway, it's not written by Ewing, and he's the magic sauce in the Immortal Hulk series right now. Jeff Lemire is often a good writer, but to me this was just a filler Hulk story that really was, maybe it created this character, this girl who turns into some kind of creature that will come back again, I suppose. So maybe it's a first appearance. Maybe people should be excited over that. To me, it was a very sort of standard story you might see in the Hulk or the Swamp Thing or the Man Thing, where our monster has to fight some other monster created by some scientific, badly behaved scientists working at a corporation. And then it ends and it's over. I was really excited that Savage Avengers was finally starting up again, but it seemed kind of energyless. And maybe they thought there was really a lot going on by doing a splash page of Elektra and Doctor Strange making love. But really, what's the point of doing that as your splash page? Does it really tell us something or advance the plot? I don't think so. I think it's just for shock value, and I think it's because it wasn't a very interesting issue, so they just put that in there. And then there's this stuff with Brother Voodoo. I guess there's two brothers who are both Brother Voodoo at one point, and one is dead now or gets killed to give the other power. There's just a lot I didn't fully follow there. And then finally we go back to Conan, and he's cutting people up. That was kind of the most fun part of the issue, but it also was just kind of a scene before the plot starts. So not much, I don't know. Not much plot seemed to be happening here, or the plot is just out of control. The writer, it's still Jerry Duggan, who has been doing a really good job. So maybe this is just an off issue for him. Also, I got stuck with a variant cover, which I know a lot of people like these kind of covers. I hate them. I want a proper variant cover. That's why there isn't the credits for the artists on the cover, or the creative team on the inside. But yeah, this is just kind of a blah picture of Conan to me, with nothing to do with the story. So in at number 5, getting a little better, was The Possessed. But this is still an $8 comic. It was issue 2. If you could get the whole trade for $8 or $9, that might be worth it once they put it all together. Same as with the first issue, great art, very minimal amount of story, and ultimately it's just I guess a little twist at the end. Some off-screen revenge was gotten by the child who survived the Holocaust with the help the die book who possessed her grandfather, but the story in general didn't develop a whole lot. I can see where there were some good ideas and some good twist ending potential, but not built up that great. I mean, I would have gotten this as a trade, I suppose, and enjoyed it okay. But mostly for the art and color. In at number 4, oops, I got the wrong order, was X-Ray Robot, which again I was really looking forward to this. I thought the first issue was decent. I don't think Michael Allred, who's doing his own writing, is as good as some of the writers he's worked with to sort of pace out the story and build the story, and that weakness really showed here, where it just seemed to be just with an attempt with some flashy visuals to just walk you through an explanation of what's going on was pretty much what this whole issue was. And it's not really a robot story, it's a time travel story with branching possible futures as you keep changing the timeline, and the possibly slightly less common idea that as you branch off more and more timelines, the fabric of reality becomes thinner and thinner. So they need to bring the timelines back together, and that's the story. That was the story here. It was just us being told that's what the scenario is. A few intriguing things like this red devilish character. The other thing is because a lot of time has passed since they published issue 1, like 6 months, 7 months, maybe not that long, but it feels that long. I forgot a bit who all the characters were, and there's at least, like, these two are actually the same person, but from different timelines, I guess. But I'm trying to remember, is this guy here with the glasses also that same person? I don't know. And I couldn't remember anymore who the woman was. And then there's another woman. I could remember this guy was like the person who runs the lab. Anyway, so it was okay. I always enjoy Michael Allred art, but I feel like, and there's a 3D thing I have to look at later with my 3D glasses, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if it'll do anything, but it wasn't as visually stunning as stuff, for instance, Michael Allred did on the Silver Surfer. So I don't know. It's just it's okay. It's an okay comic. So I enjoyed more, even though some people, some trusted people, do not like Batman 3 Jokers. I enjoyed Batman 3 Jokers okay. I put it at number 3. Now, in a better week, it would not be that high. It was a decent story, not and lots of great art, but not the major event story that it wants to be. It is interesting what's going on with Red Hood, although I felt very cheated when he got hit but with a crowbar very hard until the panel went red, that later he seemed to be relatively fine, although maybe driven a little psycho. So yeah, it's an interesting comic. It's not a major event in my mind, at least as of book 3. Maybe book 4 will change my mind completely. In at number 2 is Rogue Planet, and this is a very flawed comic. This was the final issue, number 5, so the story's over, and I can understand it a little better now, but I had to do quite a bit of work to put together things. Like even I feel like, I don't know if it's Colin Bunn's fault or the artist, or Colin Bunn's fault for relying on the artist to give us enough information, but it often wasn't clear what was going on this page. For instance, what has happened to this guy? And you have to go back and realize, oh, now that has happened to that's this guy to that guy. There's not enough sequences, I guess, so to speak. and not enough explanation of why people are doing things or what they think is happening or what we're supposed to think is happening. And yet by the end, I kind of enjoyed it. I would have liked to, in a sense, go back and rewrite this story and make it more clear. But so I don't know if even though I'm putting it at number 2 because it was such a bad week, I don't know if I would recommend this in trade to other people. Maybe if it's a very inexpensive trade, or you just really want any somewhat decent sci-fi horror comic you can get. So in at number 1, which has been number 1 many times for me, is the Ludocrats, and this is the final issue here. And this might have been my number 1 anyway, even in a good week. I'm not sure. It didn't feel quite as fun to read as the other issues of Ludocrats, maybe because as it was wrapping up, but it was making kind of an interesting point. You might interpret it as saying, you know, who wants to read these kind of serious indie kind of comics where someone is just living their life and being depressed or having a hard time psychologically. So I'm spoiling here the end, so to speak. Let's just smash open those kind of comics. They're boring, and do something fun like Ludocrats. So, a crazy ride. Ludocrats, I think, is one of my favorite comics of 2020. A weird year in comics, so a weird comic for a weird year in comics, a weird year in life. I'm going to leave it at that, I guess. Ludocrats wins. The fight against boredom. I want comics to be fun, I guess. I think all things, I don't know. There's something inherently natural to comics to do things that are fun. Also, though, I want comics they're a great way to deliver story and information, the information of the story, with just the right balance of words and pictures. And when people, even though it's my number 2 ranked thing, in the Rogue Planet, don't make full use of what they could be doing to fully flesh out their story, I feel kind of disappointed. So I hope the rest of you had a better week in comics than me. I'm sure my next week will be better and I'll be less cranky. Talk to y'all soon.